Why we work determines how well we work. In other words, if you can get somebody to really feel like they're clear on why they're doing something for them, then you'll get them to turn up and do their best work, both tactically and adaptively. And we've developed a very simple framework that explains why anybody does pretty much anything. And we call it the motive spectrum. So what this says is your motives come from one of three places. You're either motivated by something to do with the work itself, the act of doing your work. You're motivated by something connected to who you are and what you find is important. Or you're motivated by something externally, something in your organisation or people around you. And across these three areas, we've identified 6 motives that we found to be really important. The first is play. Play is directly connected to the work itself. It's when you do something because you like doing the thing. Okay? It's not fun. Fun is something slightly different. This is the act of it. So, for example, if you have a hobby that you really enjoy doing, okay, you do that probably not because you're paid, because you enjoy it. I play five-a-side football. I'm very bad at five-a-side football. I do it because I enjoy soccer. Soccer. Terrible American accent. So I do that because I enjoy doing it. That's play. Second motive is purpose. Purpose is when you do something because you value the outcome of it. Okay, you think it's important work, it's having an impact that you care about. It's connected to the work itself, but it's also connected to who you are and what you value, and that's why it's different from person to person. And then the third motive is potential. Potential is when you are doing something because you value the second order outcome of it. In other words, it's getting you towards where you want to get to. Now, we call these 3 motives the direct motives because they connect in some way directly to the work itself. Some of them will, of course, connect to who you are and what you find valuable. So let me just bring this to life. My brother is a teacher. He's a teacher in South London, and he's a very motivated teacher. He loves his job. When I ask him why, he gives me play, purpose, and potential. He uses different language. He says, I love being in a classroom. I love the kind of thrust of it. I love teaching kids. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning. Play. He says, I feel like being in education and teaching kids in the next generation feels a worthwhile use of my time. Purpose. And he says, I want to be a head teacher one day, so getting lots of experience in the classroom is helping to me towards that potential. As a result of that, he's highly motivated. He doesn't just turn up and do the tactical performance. He turns up and he tries to do his best job and he tries to improve. So those are the direct motives. They're the good reasons for doing things. There are other reasons for doing things which aren't quite as healthy. Emotional pressure is when you do something out of anxiety or fear or guilt. It's connected to who you are and what you value, but it's also an external pressure, typically from someone else. Economic pressure is the next one. Economic pressure is when you do something because of the reward system you're in, and only that reward system. And it's when you feel pressure from that reward system to do something, so it's a carrot or a stick type of approach. And inertia is when you do something, or when you ask somebody why they're doing something, and they say, actually, I don't really know, I'm doing it because that's the way we've always done it. Okay, that's the 6th motive. These are indirect motives because they are disconnected from the work, and therefore we call them indirect. Now, what our research has shown is that you can use any of these motives to get people to do stuff, but you can use any of these motives only to get tactical performance. What's really the key is to make sure that you only use the direct motives in order to drive truly adaptive performance. And so we've done a lot of research to try to unpick this and try to show the connection between the direct motives and adaptive performance. And I thought we could just try this on a little bit with some real life examples. So I want you to think of a relationship that you're in, okay, or you've been in at some point. Could be something at work, could be your partner, whatever you decide you're not going to share it, don't freak out. So ask yourself, why are you with that person? Okay, why are you with that person? Is it because of play? We have a really good laugh together. You know, it's really fun being with that person. Is it because of purpose? You know, we're doing something important together. We're building a family, we're building a company, whatever it might be. Purpose. Do you feel like you're a better person with that person? Potential. Okay, so it's helping you get somewhere. Or you might be looking at me and saying, thanks very much, Simon. Actually, I feel like I've really let that person down. if I wasn't with them. We've got double salary, therefore, and a big mortgage. We really need the income. That's why we're together. Or even worse, you might be looking at me and saying, we got together so long ago that I've forgotten the original reason. Thanks very much for bringing it up on a Friday morning. So, you might imagine, when you look at the data, a healthier relationship is one that's based on play, purpose and potential, and an unhealthier relationship is one based on emotional pressure, economic pressure and inertia. Sure enough, the research shows that to be the case. When we looked at hundreds of studies around marital happiness through the lens of these motives, you find a strong positive correlation between the direct motives and happiness and a strong negative correlation between the indirect motives and happiness. We've looked at this across lots and lots of different use cases. The other favourite of mine is to look at schools. So imagine a kid that is studying a subject because it's fun, the teachers made it fun, because the teachers explained why it's important, and the teacher gives great feedback on learning, play, purpose and potential. You might imagine that that kid is going to do better at school than a kid that is guilted into studying something, that's bribed to do that homework, and only studies something just because it's on the curriculum. I was a really good geography student at school, not because I was particularly born brilliant at geography, because I had a brilliant teacher. Teacher made it fun, told me that geography is really important and why, and I believed him, and gave me great feedback and coaching, and therefore I was a really, great geography student. So this finding is so reliable, it's so, we see it time and time again. We've kind of boiled it down into a really simple framework we call TOMO. TOMO is total motivation for sure. Essentially, it's a measure where we add up the play, purpose and potential, we subtract the emotional pressure, economic pressure and inertia, and it gives us a number. So we can measure this, and we find that all of our work essentially is oriented to how do you create organisations, teams, processes that are high TOMO. They're focused on building play, purpose and potential and minimising emotional pressure, economic pressure and inertia. So if you think of a time in your career when you weren't doing that well, you could probably explain it through this. I didn't like the job, I didn't think it was that important, I wasn't going anywhere. Or you might feel I was under a lot of stress, I wasn't paid enough, or I was really stressed out because of the incentive scheme, or I was just doing stuff because that's what they told me to do and I didn't ever get the ability to ask why. Equally, think of a team you were on, or a role which you loved, it's probably because the reverse was true. Okay, so we can measure TOMO, like I said. The way we measure it is we add up the play, purpose and potential, we subtract the emotional pressure, economic pressure and inertia, we weight them according to their proximity to the work. So play is twice as important as purpose and so on. Play is the most important thing. If you want to get somebody to do something, make it enjoyable. Inertia is the biggest killer. If you want to kill adaptive performance, just say to people, just do it, don't ask why. That's the way to kill it. They'll just do the tactical performance. We've also looked, this gives you a score between -100 and +100, a bit like NPS, and we've looked at the relationship between this in companies and their performance to really prove that this does drive performance. So just to bring this to life with a few examples, this is grocers, so where you buy your food. So can anybody guess for me what the highest TOMO grocer is in our data set? Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, Wegmans, possibly Wegmans not in our data set. So Albertsons is the lowest, Safeway, Walgreens, Kroger, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's. A straight line relationship between TOMO and the measure that we like to use is customer experience. We use that purely because it's a good measure of adaptive performance and it's also something we've all felt, so it's easy to guess. Let's look at another example. Airlines. So, can you guess what is the highest TOMO airline? Everyone. Southwest. Can you guess what the lowest TOMO airline is? Spirit. This is where everyone has their personal Anybody else? Spring? Lowest TOMO airline? United. Okay. United is the lowest one in our data set. Now this, by the way, this research was done about 4 years ago. Okay, so I'll explain why that's important in a second. American Delta Southwest, a straight line relationship. Does everybody remember the United scandals that have happened in the last couple of years? So for those of you who don't know, there's a couple of things that happened which really, really hurt United's share price and caused a big problem for them. The first was there was a passenger on one of their planes that was sitting in the wrong seat and refused to move. Now, when you study how United manage their ground staff, they put them under a lot of pressure and incentivise them for the speed they get the plane off the tarmac. Okay? So that would be a very low tonal, high pressure, high economic pressure, high emotional pressure system. That's why they're low tonal. So anyway, the ground staff look at this person in the wrong seat. Because of the pressure they're under, the low tonal system, they forget what the right thing to do is, which is not what they did, which is manhandle the person off, literally drag them off. They're screaming, they're holding their glasses up. Somebody videoed it, it went onto YouTube, they lost $1 billion in their share price. Huge scandal. Predictable because of the low time low. This research was done in 2014, this happened in 2017. So you can see this is a predictable thing. They also had another situation where, really sadly, they put a pet in an overhead compartment because that's what the protocol said. They forgot, because they're so keen to get everybody packed up and alert, they forgot what the right thing to do is. Entirely predictable because of this simple measure.